Okay. I'm nervous, dude. This is new. I don't usually talk in these things. Woo! What is this show? I gotta just get it together. I gotta understand who I am. There's a microphone. Hello. Hey everyone, white guy with glasses, a baseball cap, and a lot of nervous energy here. This is a new segment I'm trying out called The Breakdown. Get it? Where I take an episode of Riffified that you guys want me to explain further, and I show you how I did it. Today we're taking a look at the Speed Bag Bible episode. Roll the clip. Me from the future.
Just rolling.
So I think this series is going to be me explaining my process for choosing clips that are easily riffifiable, writing the drum parts, the guitar parts, the bass parts, all that good stuff, and just generally trying to answer any questions that you guys may have in terms of like how I do it. And the thing is, I don't even really know, so we're kind of in this together. Generally, the way that I do it, and I don't know if the way that I make these videos is the way other people do similar types of content, but the way that works for me is I write the drum parts to the audio and then I base the guitars off that. So this video is actually a really good example of a clip that is easily riffifiable because the main thing that I look for are transients. And a transient, to my knowledge, is nothing more than a little spiky guy.
From the back, you hear 3. Now,
so every time our man Alan is hitting the speed bag, there's a little transient, right?
3.
Da, 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 da. So what I'll do with this kind of video is I'll go through and just find all of the moments where there are transients. In this case, there are a lot of them. But that's basically the starting point for any episode of Riffified that I do. So in this case, you know, we have a physical sound that's happening from someone hitting something. Generally, the videos that I riffify are of people speaking. So in that case, the transients are the syllables of their speech, right? So here we can see Alan talking. We have these waveforms here.
Everybody that really gets into this goes.
So if I was just riffifying his speech, I would look for every single syllable that he has here and go off that. Then I'll go in and program in first the MIDI drum parts to the original audio. So I'm just using ye old Superior Drummer 2 from the good people at TuneTrack. Love them, love what they do, love what they make. This is how the kit that I'm using sounds. I think this is a Nolly preset, if I'm not mistaken. So using Superior Drummer 2, I go in and manually, and this is probably the most time-consuming part of this whole process, I manually program in just the kick to all of the transients that I want the drums to line up to. So here's just the kick to Alan, our man, hitting the speed bag.
3 from here, from the back.
Kick by itself.
You hear.
So once I have the kick in place, then I'll go in and write the rest of the drum parts to the kick. And I'm not a drummer, I'm just a humble guitarist. So this is a lot of me just winging it. But what ends up happening is I try to find mini chunks where there's sort of a rhythm going on, sort of a consistent groove, and I'll write drum parts based on that. One of the most frequent comments I get is people being like, oh dude, your tempo maps must be insane, and I don't actually use tempo maps. I probably should, it might be easier, but honestly, I just do it all by ear and by feel. That tends to be the quickest way for me to work personally. So I program in the kicks, and then based on that, I'll program in the cymbals and the snares and the toms and fills and all that kind of stuff. And you'll end up with drum parts that sound like this. I've gotten pretty quick at it to where I know what I'll do for certain types of parts. So in this case, we have blast beats. He's just going fast. I want to match the intensity of whatever he's doing. A big part of these types of videos, if you do this at home, wouldn't recommend it, but if you do it at home, you want to match the energy of the original clip with whatever you're doing. So once the drums are programmed, then I'll go in and write the guitar parts based on what the drums are doing. The majority of the videos that I riffify are usually of people talking, And when you have someone speaking, there's not only the phrasing and the rhythm of how they talk, but also the melodic element of the way they end sentences and the tone of voice. And you have these different parts of speaking that can make their way into the guitar parts. But in this case, we just have someone punching something. So there's not really a melodic element to it. It's really more about the rhythm. So if this is how our drums start. That's a very like kind of open, groovy thing that's going on. Pretty like consistent as far as these types of videos go. I'm kind of just taking chunks of whatever the audio is and making kind of a little, I'm writing a riff to it. I'm making a little microcosm of a song. So it comes and goes in like 3 seconds, right? So with this chunk, we actually have a bit of space before it changes, right? So with the guitar part, this is what I ended up coming up with. For the guitar tones, I'm using my Line 6 Helix rack. I'm using the Rev Generator purple channel going through a Mesa Boogie IR. So this song was written on an 8-string. And don't think for a second that I don't see you guys. I see you dirty little gent kids. You want your little chugga-wuggas, your little open chugga, little Cheerio Juns, all right? And I got you covered. You came to the right spot. So when it comes to choosing a 6-string, 7-string, or 8-string guitar, I try to tailor it to the original source material. So for this, it was pretty groovy right off the bat. When it comes to groove and metal, the first thing I think of is like Meshuggah and Gent and these kind of heavier bands that use 8-strings. So hence why there is an 8-string guitar. So I think I just started chugging along to the kick drum. Then our next section, so here we have sort of 3 sections. We have another open, kind of a swung thing, and then this little drum fill, and then another open section. So again, just wrote the drum parts based on what the kick was doing, and I came up with this. So a lot of times with parts like these, I'll kind of chunk it up where I'll record this part, and then this part, and then for this fill that kind of comes in quickly and doesn't really have a rhythm to it, I'll do something fun like a pick scrape or a pinch harmonic, just any sort of random kind of noise to fill that space. I don't even know what I did there. I think just a sweeping harmonic thing. So much of this is just off the cuff, and that's kind of the process, guys. Here's another good spot.
Back 1, 2, and comes back. Single.
So for this video, I decided that I was only going to riffify him punching the bag. I didn't want to riffify his voice at all. I wanted to keep it solely on him making contact with the speed bag. So for this part, you have, right, dun, dun. And so I wanted to do a big dun, wah, like a heavy chug, and then a big old string squeal thing. So you get this. Sounds great, it's music. And then I just kind of follow the rhythm for the rest of it.
Single fist here, hear that beat? Okay.
So here's just the drums and the guitar for this part. So this is kind of where the song becomes more songy, I guess. It's not even really a song. It just becomes a little bit more riffy. So I could just sit here and just chug along all day. Which, you know what, chugging is perfectly acceptable. It's legal, so you can do it and it's fine. But at this point, I wanted to add a little bit more of a melodic thing to that. It's more interesting than just chugging away. You know, I am trying to make this somewhat musical, if you can believe it or not. That part's cool. I do a little, a little panning, dun dun dun. Again, trying to keep it interesting. Sometimes with these videos, I'll zoom too far in and spend too much time on one little part, and then once I zoom out, it's gone in like half a second. But I do think it makes a difference in terms of kind of the overall feel of whatever I'm going for. I don't even know. This part, again, more chugging. This is gonna be the chugging episode, right? Here's what the drums are doing. And you can see there, I have the snare part following the kind of ebb and flow of what his hands are doing when they make contact going in and then backing away from the speed bag. Da-da, 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 da-da. And the snare helps to da-da, da-da, accent how the drum parts are broken up. Da-da. You have groups of 2. So based on that, then I just chugged along to the drum part. And then we have another little fill.
Single fist, just rolling.
And then we come to the blast beats, my absolute favorite thing. I am a sucker for blast beats. I also want to take this time to apologize to any drummers out there. Again, I'm not a drummer, so I just kind of turn up the velocity on everything, and I don't really worry about making it too realistic. So if a human could play this, please DM me, let's collab or something, but this is how the blast beats sound again. So generally when I have blast beats for a part, I'll either do a really fast tremolo pick section or just some complete garbage. And I'll just kind of tap a high thing and move it down a fret for the other ear. So the right ear sounds like this. Lovely. Left ear sounds like this. Music. And then you can also see I have a center guitar part that sounds like this. So all together you have this. And, you know, to quote Ravel, I think a quote from him is something along the lines of, "To begin, I consider an effect." Something like that. Don't quote me on it. But the effect here is that I want crazy dissonance, intensity, just like full steam ahead, right? I just start tapping random notes and you get noise. And then the next part, we got drums again. And again, the snare is really what's key here. It's really accenting where the chugs are gonna come in. And then the guitars, which are just doing. And then we have something else. You can see I have this sort of juxtaposition between what this guitar part's doing and then the second half here, which is like a more tight kind of palm muted section. And then we have this section. I find myself questioning what I'm doing more and more each and every day. So for this part, I wanted to have this sort of like call and response from low chugs and high, crazy, painful tapping parts. So here's what the drums are doing. We have blast beats, and then we have really hard sort of rim shot snare hits. And I think for this part, I ended up doing the chugs before the tapping parts because, wow, one thing at a time. I'm just one small man. Here's just what the chugs sound like. And then here's what the tapping parts sound like. And it's just Ziggler rock. So yeah, that's that part. As I'm making this video, I'm kind of realizing that it feels a little futile because I just kind of did it and there it is. And I can't really explain the madness any more than I can begin to understand it. So I'm sorry. Here we have another little pick scrape. Lovely, great. So this outro is mostly just kind of filler parts. You know, there's not really a lot of rhythm to it. It's just like big woo, big slides, big woo, you know what I'm saying? And then at the very end, we kind of have kind of a cadence. And I always try to end these videos with some sort of like conclusion statement, even though it might not seem like it. So for this part, I wanted to have that kind of cadence, that kind of wrap up, that kind of, you know, final conclusion. Ba 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 ba. Sounds like this. And that's it for the guitar parts. And then the last thing that I'll do, and I'm sorry to all my bass player friends out there, please, I hope we can be friends still. I'll go in and program in the bass parts. I use Solemn Tones Loki bass on this preset that I made called Heavy Boy, and that sounds like this by itself. Again, I'm not a bass player. I'm barely a guitarist, so you have to excuse me. But I just based the bass parts off of what the guitars are doing. So again, in this beginning, the guitars are just chugging away. So I go in and program in the bass MIDI to sound like that. And I just kind of follow that method the whole way down. And again, I'm sort of basing all of these decisions on like an intended effect. So with Riffified, it's mostly just like tech death, death metal, craziness, and that's the desired effect. So I'm not really trying to go for any sort of like deep artistic thing, although there are little things that make me smile personally where I'm like, oh, that riff's actually like pretty sick. I could like use that in like a real song or whatever. But that's kind of how I do it. So after all that is said and done, after I program in the drum parts, write the guitar riffs based on the drums, and then write the bass parts based on the guitar parts, we end up with this.
Everybody that really gets into this goes, that sound is so cool. They love that. 3 from here, from the back, you hear 3. Now the rhythm changes when I do this. That's 2 rebounds. Fist hits the bag, 1, 2, and comes back. Single fist here, you hear that beat? Changes. Sing double fist through. Single fist rolling.
So that's it, I think. I'm pretty sure. I hope. Please make it stop. So because this is the first of hopefully many more breakdown videos, please let me know in the comments what you thought of this. This is my first time ever explaining my process to anyone, so I'm kind of used to just thinking about it in my own head and then doing it. So let me know if any of this made sense. I welcome all constructive criticism. Just please be nice, because we're trying to have a good time around here, you know what I'm saying? I will link to the original video in this video's description so you can kind of hear the original audio and then my bastardized version of it. And if there's an episode of Riffified that you want to see me do a breakdown video for specifically, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you have a suggestion for Riffified, please DM me, leave a comment, hit me up on the internet. I'm in there pretty frequently, so you're gonna bump into me at some point. Never done an outro before, so sorry about that.